Man, I still remember the way Tampa felt in 2020. Slower, simpler, almost like no one knew us, but in a good way. Back in 2020, things were more chill, more affordable, kind of under the radar city. Heck, I've been on camera walking you through all of the changes week to week for years, but something happened. Remote work hit, the world shut down, and suddenly everybody and their cousin decided Tampa was the spot. At first, it felt like a secret. Then it felt like a stampede. U-Hauls lining I-4 and 75 coming our way, cranes sprouting up all over the city, and neighborhoods flipping overnight. Tampa didn't grow, it erupted. But with every boom, there's a price. Traffic, insurance, affordability. I mean, we even made it through a few hurricanes. Yeah, we've got our scars. Still, if you ask anyone who's lived it, they'll tell you, the city's never felt more alive. Today, I want you to hang with me as we rewind the tape, because this isn't just about real estate or some fancy house I think you should check out. It's about how Tampa transformed, how it went from a hidden gem to headline city in just a few wild years, walking through how it all happened, the rise, the rush, and the ripple that's still changing everything right now. Stay tuned. When the world shut down in 2020, most cities hit pause, but Tampa said, hold my beer, because while everyone else was locked inside, the city quietly became the ultimate escape plan. No state income tax, sunshine year-round, homes with backyards you can enjoy all 12 months, and suddenly, people from New York, Chicago, California, practically the entire Midwest all looked up from their laptops and said, wait, why am I not there? Remote work flipped the script. People realized they could clock in from a poolside patio instead of a home-built cubicle, and Tampa checked every single box. The beaches were open, the vibe was laid back, and prices, let's just say an entry-level home here might have cost less than a parking space in Manhattan. At first, it was subtle. A few families relocating, a couple remote workers testing the waters, but by the end of 2020, it was like someone hit turbo. Zillow searches for Tampa, they spiked over 200%. Builders in Pasco and Hillsborough couldn't pour concrete fast enough. Neighborhoods like Wesley Chapel, Apollo Beach, and Odessa, they went from sleepy to slammed. You could literally feel the energy changing. Moving trucks lined the streets. Every other conversation started with, we just moved from fill in the state. It wasn't just growth, it was a wave, a perfect storm of record low interest rates, remote work, freedom, and Florida's open for business attitude while other states were still locked in. At one point, Forbes named Tampa the #1 emerging tech city in the US. Tampa was ranked the top 10 best place to live in the country. And how about Time magazine ranking Tampa as one of the best places in the world? I mean, just check out this quick list of accolades Tampa accumulated over the last few years. The city's population, it ballooned. Tampa Bay added more than 50,000 new residents in just 1 year, and some suburbs saw 15% growth in just a few short years. Pasco County looked like SimCity on fast forward, hundreds of master plan communities breaking ground all at once. And as the cranes took over the skyline in the city, Tampa's identity started to shift. The old sleepy Gulf town vibe, it was gone. Suddenly, national headlines were calling Tampa the next Austin. Investors swarmed in, startups followed, Fortune 500 companies started scouting office space near the Riverwalk, but it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows. With that growth came friction. Traffic thickened, home prices started ticking up, and longtime locals started asking if the city was changing too fast. Maybe it was, but it was also becoming something brand new, more electric, more confident, and more alive than ever. You could stand on a rooftop downtown in 2021 and literally watch Tampa reinvent itself in real time. Cranes in the air, condos selling before the foundation even set, and a skyline stretching higher like it had something to prove. What started as a quiet migration had turned into a full-blown transformation. That spark in 2020 and 2021, that perfect collision of timing, technology, and Tampa's laid-back magnetism was the moment everything changed. And once those people came, our sleepy, slow-paced little suburbs, they didn't just grow, they exploded. But before I jump into that, let me go ahead and hit the pause button for just 2 seconds. If you're thinking about moving to Tampa or need help finding your next home, reach out to us. Nothing's changed on our end. We've been helping families find their perfect place to live in all along. Our contact info is on the screen, and my team and I want to be your local Tampa real estate team of choice. Once Tampa lit up the map, the fire spread fast. And it didn't just burn downtown, it ripped through the edges. Wesley Chapel, Lutz, Brandon, all of our suburbs, places that used to be quiet, tucked away, suddenly they found themselves at the center of Florida's biggest suburban boom. If you drove through those areas in 2020, you probably passed cow pastures and open tracts of land. But in the next few years, you started to see roundabouts, Publixes, gated communities, and new schools that looked like college campuses. It was wild. Pasco County, it became the poster child for this explosion. Over 15% growth in just 5 years and more than 600 development projects either under construction or in the pipeline. Whole neighborhoods seem to just appear overnight. And for those of you that have followed me for a while, you remember me vlogging through Starkey Ranch and Bexley back then. My videos weren't as polished, but I was right there with you through all of this growth. Over in Wesley Chapel, we were front and center watching the nation's first man-made lagoon open at Epperson. And between the numerous master plan communities and shopping and entertainment malls, it was like watching dominoes fall. It was in motion and one after another. It was just hard to keep up. But it wasn't just concentrated to Pasco County. From Riverview all the way down to Parrish, the area was erupting. Waterset down in Apollo Beach. That was a great example of this new neighborhood wave. Developers weren't just building communities, they were building with lifestyle in mind. Housing options, amenities galore, literally providing all the bells and whistles you could want. The suburban boom was on fire between 2021 and 23, and nothing was gonna stop it. But while the suburbs were booming, downtown Tampa was leveling up too. Water Street started taking shape. Glass towers, luxury condos, outdoor restaurants with lights strung across the patios. It was like watching the city put on a new face. You could walk down Channelside and feel it. Street art, live music coming from rooftop bars, new hotel lighting up the skyline, and the Riverwalk, it stretched even further, connecting the old with the new, and it finally felt like downtown Tampa had a heartbeat day and night. Then Gasworks broke ground between Ybor and downtown, a massive 50-acre project with new living options, offices, and restaurants. It was Tampa saying, we're not just growing, we're evolving. Over by the airport, new express lanes were opening, airside D plans were announced, and locals were like, okay, this is a whole new vibe. But with every boom comes the friction. The traffic on 54, it's brutal. Commutes that used to be 20 minutes were now 45. Schools were bursting at the seams, Publix parking lots overflowing, and Plan Hillsborough was like waving the red flag. Growth was outpacing infrastructure. You could feel it on the ground, excitement mixed with exhaustion. Still, the energy was addictive. Every local business owner I knew was expanding. Coffee shops like Blind Tiger and Bloody Brew were opening in new zip codes faster than you could count. Families from Chicago, Denver, New York, they weren't just moving here, they were planting roots. The vibe was, Tampa's the future, and honestly, it felt like it. By the end of 23, you could stand anywhere from the rooftops downtown in the new subdivisions in Pasco, and you could see proof of a city rewriting its own story. Tampa wasn't chasing opportunity anymore, it was the opportunity. But here's the thing about momentum. It's thrilling, but it's not forever. And as the building kept going, the cracks started to show. Prices, insurance, the pace of life, it all started to feel heavier. That's where the story takes a turn, because every boom has a ripple. Every boom, it leaves a mark. And by 2023, Tampa's rush started to feel less like a sprint and more like a stress test. You could see it in the prices, feel it in the insurance bill, and hear it in every conversation at the coffee shop. The city that once felt just wide open suddenly felt tight. Tighter roads, tighter budgets, tighter patience. By mid-23, people started asking a different question. Not where can I buy, but can I still afford to? Home prices that had doubled since 2020 were now outpacing wages. Flood insurance went from a background cost to a full-blown shocker. Folks who once bragged about moving to Florida for cheap living were now doing double takes at renewal quotes. I talked to one family on the water in Apollo Beach who said their premium went up $5,000 in a single year, and that wasn't that rare. The migration wave that once defined Tampa started to slow. Redfin data showed moves into Tampa dropped from roughly 35,000 in 2023 to barely 10,000 in 24. That's not a slowdown, that's a gear shift. And for the first time in years, Tampa actually landed on the list of top 20 cities people are leaving. So between rising costs, storm anxiety, and traffic gridlock, some folks decided the Paradise Dream had a few too many hurricanes in it. You could feel it in the streets too. The vibe started to change. Some of the restaurants that made a name during the boom, they just closed up shop. Hooch and Hive, Ella's, a few Seminole Heights favorites gone, but in their place came new players. High-end spots like Koya, cocktail lounges downtown, rooftop bars in Water Street, and a Michelin guide packed with new favorites that really put Tampa on the foodie map. It was a survival of the fittest, just Tampa style. Even downtown's rhythm, it started to evolve. Water Street was filling up, the Riverwalk was packed on weekends, but the cranes were slowing down. You'd see developers pause projects, materials sit longer on site, and locals, they finally started catching their breath like, all right, maybe we built enough for now. But for all the friction, there was still this heartbeat, the pride that Tampa was no longer an underdog. The city was going through growing pains, sure, but they were the kind of pains that meant it had grown up. We weren't the secret city anymore, we were the city everyone had an opinion about. In 2025, you can now sense the shift. People started caring less about how fast we grew and more about what that growth meant. Neighborhood groups were talking walkability and flood zones, not just square footage. The headlines weren't "Tampa's booming" anymore. They were "Tampa searching for balance." And that balance, that's where the next chapter begins. After the rush came the realization. Growth is exciting, but identity, that's what lasts. By 2025, Tampa had finally caught its breath. The cranes slowed down, the traffic was still thick, and the skyline looked like a screenshot from a city twice our size. But underneath all that noise, something cooler was happening. The city started to figure out who it really was. Downtown didn't feel like a construction zone anymore. It feels like a hangout. You can walk through Water Street on a Saturday night and find 3 different vibes from one corner to the next. The restaurants, next level. Koya earned that Michelin star. Predolina is packed with locals and travelers, and Bulan became the go-to dinner flex. Tampa's food scene never tried to copy Miami, it just built its own lane. The Riverwalk, it turned into the city's main artery. Bikers in the morning, strollers and sunsets by evening, and festivals lighting it up on weekends. Today, over in Ybor, you can feel the heartbeat again. The Gasworks project is rising, fusing the grit of old Ybor with the glass and greenery of a new generation. For the first time in years, it feels like Tampa's past and future are just meeting. Even the suburbs, it got an identity upgrade. Wesley Chapel's crate scene is still buzzing. Odessa has breweries full on Fridays, and places like Seminole Heights and Armature Works, they're pulling the younger crowd back towards the core. What used to be separate zones, downtown, the burbs, the beaches, they're starting to blend into one lifestyle. People aren't just moving to Tampa anymore, they're becoming Tampa. And that's what's really changed, the vibe. You have locals like myself who grew up fishing the bay, sitting next to transplants from Northern Virginia and Armature, both cheering for the Lightning like they were all born here. Tampa became this mix of Southern charm and big city ambition, a melting pot with a little swagger. The conversations, they shifted too. People aren't just asking about home prices or schools anymore. They're asking where the best jazz bars are, what rooftop has the best sunset, which street festival is happening next weekend. Yeah, the costs are up, but so is the culture. The city that once bragged about being affordable is now bragging about being alive. And honestly, it's hard not to be proud. Every storm, every boom, every bit of chaos built a new kind of Tampa. One that knows who it is and who it wants to be. So if you ask me, this isn't the same city it was in 2020, and that's okay. The old Tampa had heart. The new Tampa has the blood pumping, and it's only getting stronger. And now we're here, standing right on the edge of 2026. It's wild to think how far this city's come in only about 6 years. Tampa's not that hidden gem anymore. It's not even the up-and-coming city people used to talk about. It's here. It's arrived. The skyline's impressive, the suburbs have exploded, and the question everybody's asking now isn't what's next to build, it's what kind of city do we want to be? Because this next chapter, like I said, is all about balance. City planners are rolling out pieces of the Imagine 2040 plan, aiming to build smarter, denser, greener, and more connected. Instead of endless sprawl, they're looking at walkable corridors, mixed-use pockets, and transit that actually keeps up. Words like resilience, stormwater systems, and sustainability are popping up in every meeting. That's Tampa's new hustle, learning from the chaos of the last few years and figuring out how to evolve without losing what made us special in the first place. Projects like Gasworks are the blueprint for that mindset, taking the bones of old Ybor industry and turning them into something vibrant, modern, and alive. Out by the airport, Airside D is well underway with new hotels and express lanes reshaping the gateway to the city. Even out in areas like Pasco, we're seeing something new. Local job centers, office parks, hospitals like Orlando Health Wiregrass Ranch and Johns Hopkins Pediatric Hospital. Signs that the suburbs don't just sleep here anymore, they work here too. But maybe the biggest shift isn't concrete, it's conversations. You can feel people starting to care about the how of Tampa's future, not just the what. Flood zones, shade trees, traffic, transit, community character. Things that used to be just background noise are now part of daily talk. Tampa's not just growing up physically, it's maturing mentally. We've been through the rush, we've felt the pressure, now we're learning how to build a future that lasts. Still, that spark's alive. You walk down Water Street at night and the city hums. Live music on the Riverwalk, smells of Cuban sandwiches and café con leche drift through West Tampa, joggers filling the sidewalks along Bayshore. It hits you that Tampa's still got that same energy, just focus now. Heading into 2026, this is Tampa's crossroads. We've proved that we can grow, now we've got to prove we can sustain. Can we stay true to the soul that made people fall in love with this city while building a version that's ready for the next generation? If I had to bet, yeah, we can, because Tampa's still got that fight, that pride, that underdog heartbeat that never really went away. It's just beating louder now. And the best part, we're not done yet. And that's the real story of Tampa's rise, from an underrated Gulf Coast city to one of the fastest growing spots in the country, all in just a few wild years. I've lived it, I've filmed it, and I've driven through every detour this city's thrown our way. But what's crazy is Tampa's still writing its story. The skyline's higher, the food's better, and the culture's louder than ever. But what makes Tampa special? Still the same thing. Whether you've been here for a decade or you just pulled up in a U-Haul last month, you're part of the next chapter. And if you're watching this and thinking about making a move to Tampa, reach out. My team and I want to help you and your family find your perfect Tampa setup. And if you love seeing how Tampa's evolving, check out my Tampa playlist right after this, because it will give you a really good idea of what living in Tampa is really all about. Tampa's not done growing, not even close. After everything we've been through, I'd say we're actually just getting started. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.